Hello and welcome to our September GDTA Spotlight session. And my name is Uli Weinberg, and I'm the founding director of the School of Design Thinking in Potsdam. And at the same time, also, I have the pleasure to head up together with Richard Paris, who is also here in the call, the Global Design Thinking Alliance, which is the host for today for this session. And that is our special session to prepare also our October conference at the Global Design Thinking Alliance is every year hosting a conference, and usually at different places on the planet. And this time we will be at Penn State University on the 21st of October. And in order to get you a little bit more, all of you a little bit more involved in the setup and also in the topic, I have the pleasure to welcome today here Jessica Menold, who is the Associate Professor at the School of Engineering, Design and Innovation and the Department of Mechanical Engineering, and also Dr. Matt Parkinson, Professor of Engineering, Design and Mechanical Engineering at Penn State University. And they are both a part of the Learning Factory. And for me, it is always, I think most of you know Matt and Jessica, I always refer to them as the world champions in project-based learning. If I look at the numbers here of what this number of students you are running through the Learning Factory every year, it's about 3,000. This is the number of students I'm looking back through the past 15 years running through the School of Design Thinking. So it's about 3,000. You are handling those every year. It's amazing. And I think that alone is already a big achievement. And now you're hosting the conference at your new building, which I just had the pleasure to see at pictures and had a little virtual walkthrough. But I'm really looking forward to see the real building and to meet you and at Penn State and to get an idea of how you do that. And it's all about scaling, actually. Scaling the design thinking mindset, that is the topic for today. And that is also the topic for the conference. And I'm happy to welcome now Matt and Jessica. Please give them a big round of applause and to welcome them to the stage. The stage is yours, and hopefully the technology works well. Thanks for joining us here from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. Yes, that's right. Uli, and it's great to see everyone. We're excited to host you all for the upcoming conference and to talk a little bit now about how you can engage with the conference and what to expect while you're here. We've opened registration about a month and a half ago, and there's about 40 people registered right now. About 3/4 of those are virtual registrants, and the other quarter are going to be with us in person. We hope lots more will come and join us in person, and we can talk about what that experience will be like. So first, I want to give just a little bit of background on who we are here at Penn State. So as Uli mentioned, Jess and I both run what's called the Learning Factory. So it's roughly our equivalent of the D-School. So the Learning Factory started as just a shop, kind of a machine shop 30 years ago, and has expanded to become both the makerspace for the College of Engineering and the entity that organizes a lot of the external design activities that we have here on campus. So as Uli mentioned, scale is a big part of what we do. So we run about 1,300 students and 250 projects in our senior level class every year. So these are students that are doing hands-on design thinking projects for clients that are external to their team in some fashion. And these projects range everything from developing assistive devices for people with some sort of disability, to projects for, this is redesigning a tractor for John Deere. So there's a wide range in the kinds of things that we do. All of our first year students, roughly 1,600 of them, take an Introduction to Engineering Design and Design Thinking course. And we teach these in groups of 36. So a single course will have 36 students in it, 9 teams of 4, and that runs for about 15 weeks, about 6 hours a week throughout the course of the semester. And then we do that for 2 semesters a year. We also have a number of activities outside of class that our students can engage in. We have weekly activities that they can come for about 3 hours and learn some new skill that will help them in particular in their prototyping efforts. We also have fun things. We have artists in residence that come and share their talents with us each semester, and we'll sponsor some of the external activities that the students engage with. One of the things that's unique to us and our efforts is we don't have a big endowment that we live on, and we don't have a lot of support from the university. Instead, we're expected to raise what's called soft money in a university. So nearly all of our support comes from corporate and donor gifts. So every year, every week, I'm out shaking hands and asking for support from companies that are like-minded and think that design thinking is an important skill for our students to develop. So as Uli said, we in the past year have provided some kind of training to more than 3,000 students. And in fact, in the last about 2.5 weeks, we've started training for about 1,500 students. So it's always going for us. So scale is one topic that's very important to us. A little bit about our location. We are a small town in central Pennsylvania. So we're just a college town. The university is the big thing that's here. To give you a sense of where we are on the East Coast, we're where this big red dot is, kind of in the middle of this Pennsylvania outline. And if you're coming to visit us, the airport, and this is on our website, but University Park Airport is our airport, and that's just a few minutes away from the venue where we will be holding. But there are lots of other places if you want to come out and spend more than just a few days with us. You could come to Pittsburgh or Baltimore or Philadelphia or Washington, D.C. or New York. And all of those places are just kind of in a little circle around us here. And you could fly into one of those places, spend some time there, and either catch a short flight over or rent a car and make the drive over. There's also a bus and a train that you can take to get out to where we are. So lots of ways to engage with us. We are a football, so an American football school, which means that that's always a big deal. In fact, we had to schedule the conference around our football weekends. If we scheduled it for the same weekend as one of our football weekends, no one would be able to get here. There are no places to stay for hours around. There's no way to get flights in. It's almost impossible. So we go from being a very small town to being the second largest city in all of Pennsylvania on football weekends. So we have about 200,000 people who come to our area just to watch football and to participate in the events around it. So it's a big deal. We have the number 7 team in the country right now. So that's something that we're excited about. Nevertheless, even though we had to dodge football, it's going to be a great time of year to be in central Pennsylvania. So people come from all over the country to see our trees. When we get to fall and the leaves change from green to yellow and red and orange, it's just really spectacular. And this is just a few minutes hike from where our venue is. You can get amazing views, and it's going to be really a neat time of year to be here. As Uli mentioned, we have a new venue. So we have a brand new building that's almost 10,000 square meters. that is exclusively to support our engineering design and design thinking activities. So it has 11 design studios in it where we can teach. With so many students, we have to teach a lot of them all at once. And so this allows us to have up to 11 of these groups of 36 students having their design thinking activities all at once. Then it also has about 4,000 square meters of maker space, so places where we can do prototyping. Because we're housed in engineering, prototyping is really important to us. And just to give you a sense, this is a short video. It's a couple minutes long. That's a drone video that does a fly-through of a bunch of the buildings. So watch that. This is a civil engineering space. But the rest of the building is the design thinking stuff. That's one of our design studios right there. Let's see. All right. So that's our building. And people were, respect to the drone pilot. He was pretty amazing. So he had full VR goggles on, and he was into it. He knew what he was doing. But so that's a little bit about us and the conference venue, the location. We'll talk a little bit more about the conference in a minute, but I wanted to stop and answer any questions that people had about those kinds of things, about any of that stuff. What questions do you have? Yeah, go for it, David.
I just wanted to say that video was absolutely incredible. And is it possible to get a link to the video? Because I may have to convince my bosses to allow me to go. And that would, I think, do it. That would
help. That would put it over the top.
I think so.
I will share a link in the chat right now. It's on Vimeo. So yeah, thank you for saying that. They worked really hard on it. I was just a passenger on that train. But there you go. There's a link in the chat that you can use. Good. Any other questions?
It's a wonderful outlook it came out, Matt. Our appreciation to the entire crew of yours. And how long did it actually take it? What is your thought process? How it actually spanned from zero to this stage?
For the video?
No.
For the building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the building took us about 4 years from programming to now. And Richard and I have commiserated a lot about the process of getting buy-in and working with the architects and helping them to understand. One of the big advantages that we have is that we were not first. And so I've been taking pictures of the D-School at Stanford and at HPI and in Cape Town, in Singapore, the National University of, or the Singapore University of Technology and Design, and every place that I went around the world that had anything even like this, I took pictures and documented it. And so when it came time, I just dumped all that in the lap of the architects. And so they did a lot of really neat things. I mentioned earlier, because we're engineering, prototyping is really important to us. And the integration of prototyping spaces adjacent to the design studios is really cool. We love how HPI in Potsdam has the kind of open spaces with couches, with movable furniture, where a lot of neat things can happen there. And so we stole that. So there's a lot of neat things. The other thing I think that distinguishes us besides the prototyping is just the sheer size. And that's, I mean, we have so many people that we have to run through this process that we needed a building that would have the capacity for it. So
that's great. That's great. So, but you said that you always scout for funding outside. Did the university support this, or the government support it, or any outsiders support
for the
this?
building? That's a great question. So about 15% of it was funded by donors, and about 30% of it was funded by the government, and the rest was funded by the university. So the university provides our facilities. They do a great job with that. I'm responsible for finding the resources to keep them going once they're here, basically, mostly people and materials and equipment and stuff like that.
Just a follow-up question, like Stanford, how they created Silicon Valley like 30, 40, 50 years back. Do you have intention to create a startup ecosystem around this one?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Go, Jess. Jess is all about startups.
Yeah, we have a pretty vibrant startup ecosystem, actually, and that's been our last former president. That was one of his major pushes. So there's actually a really good organization of startups, as well as like support for startups, and that's been forming over the last 5 years. And so we're really starting to pick up momentum. So this building, I think, will add to that existing infrastructure.
Wonderful, lovely.
Joanne, you had a question.
Yeah, mine was about funding, so you answered it actually.
Oh, okay.
And I guess the other thing is, so to help us promote, I guess you've done it on LinkedIn. I think I reposted, but you know, if you have something that we can just resend out again, you know, just let us do that.
Okay, yeah, that's a great suggestion. Thank you. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the conference itself. And many of you were involved with the process of putting that the theme together and organizing how this was going to go. So it's October 21st and 22nd. So the 21st is the big day where we have kind of a full day of conference-y things. On the 20th, the day before, there's a meeting for the GDTA membership. And then on the 22nd is a special session that Jess will talk about here in a minute. But our theme, as we developed it over several months, we came up with this: scaling the design thinking mindset, upskilling the current and future workforce. And so scaling is very important to us here at Penn State, and it's a thing that we're interested in, obviously. But there's also this notion of how do we promote all of these activities around developing skills in our current workforce and our future workforce, and helping them to be lifelong learners. And so we identified a number of kind of subtopics, and these are listed here: AI, remote delivery, so online and remote delivery, micro-credentialing, augmented reality and virtual reality, lifelong learning, as I mentioned, prototyping, quantifying the value of design thinking, the cultural and social dimensions of design thinking, and then some of the failures and limitations that are associated with design thinking. So with those things in mind, we have this scheduled together. So we'll have a speaker on Saturday morning, and then a conference session with 15-minute presentations. There's a link here in a minute where you can submit a proposal to be part of that. Recognizing that there would be limited opportunities to engage in that style with the 15-minute presentations, over lunch, we're going to have a poster session that we're calling the Flavors of Design. And so this will be an opportunity for all participants to share things that they think are unique or exciting to them and their version of design thinking. And recognizing that many of you will be traveling, we wanted to make it easy for you to participate in this. And so we're going to print all of the posters. Also, some people will be engaging remotely, and if you'd like to have a poster printed here, we'll take care of that as well. So we're going to have a portal where you could submit your posters, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. And so we'll be able to engage and just have a really social lunch where we all learn from each other. Then in the afternoon, we have a conference session on scaled design thinking, and we've lined up a bunch of great speakers for that. And then because we have our maker space, we're going to have a hands-on prototyping workshop. And so we're going to make use of some of our 50 TAs and have them work with us to learn some extra prototyping skills and how we can incorporate that into our design thinking practice. And we have prizes for our best prototypers. And that's going to follow up with an evening reception on our rooftop garden here. And then Sunday is our combine, and Jess will walk us through that. So as I said, if you'd like to submit a proposal for participating in the morning session, you can hit this QR code, and there's a place where you can submit there. And we'll also disseminate this. As Joanne pointed out, this is something we can put out on LinkedIn and other places. But we also have this poster session, and the idea here is that everyone can participate. And we have a little bit of some size requirements, and we'll get those out to you as well, so that all the posters will be about the same size and can be printed by us easily. And we'll get all that stuff taken care of for you. Jess, if you can walk us through the combine.
Yeah, so on Sunday, we are going to host a design thinking competition of sorts. And so we are excited to bring in some local, as well as some other folks from across industries that we work with often at Penn State, who are interested in kind of getting their feet wet in design thinking. And then our hope is that we have some amazing design thinking coaches in person. So the combine on Sunday will be exclusively in person. And so we're hoping to have some coaches come in who want to test their own design thinking coaching abilities. So this is an excellent opportunity for coaches to receive really interesting quantitative and qualitative feedback on their coaching abilities. So Matt, you can move forward. So what we're going to be doing during the actual workshop, it'll be a morning session, likely from 9 to 12 with a short lunch to follow in case folks have to get onto planes. But our hope is that we've selected a problem. We're not going to tell you what the problem is now. It's going to be a surprise the day of.
But it's super cool.
But it is super cool. Coaches are going to facilitate team problem solving. So again, with local professionals, we will work through the design thinking process. So we are going to have kind of like not a script, but we'll ahead of time provide each of the coaches with a packet to say, hey, here are all of the activities we're going to work through with each of the participants. So empathy maps, game-changing statements, statement starters, things like that. How might we's, and then all the way through prototyping. So we're going to have another opportunity during Sunday to use the entirety of the building and all of the amazing prototyping abilities. And each team will actually come built in with a prototyping specialist. So one of the Learning Factory TAs will be embedded into each of the teams so that you guys can use the laser cutters, the 3D printers, whatever you want to use for your prototyping. we pinky promise we will not make anyone do the wallet exercise. That will not be the problem we're going to solve. We're going to solve a really interesting new problem with a lot of fun kind of tie-ins to design thinking. So that'll be great. You can go forward one. So during the session, what the coaches will get out of this? Our big team of researchers here at Penn State is going to be tracking communicative and behavioral signals. So if you look, I've kind of got 2 red arrows on the screen. So why this matters, we're going to be looking at the way coaches actually facilitate rapport and build trust and buy-in in their participants. And so we'll be looking at the things that coaches say. So verbal cues, paraverbal cues. We'll also be looking at behavioral cues exchange between participants and between coaches. So we'll be able to say things like, hey, you did a very good job engaging your participants. You lost some engagement during this period. You should consider maybe switching up your tone or the way that you're interacting with the participants. So we're excited to give some of that. With paraverbal cues, it's actually a more computational look at some of the verbal cues. So we can look at things like changes in vocal pitch to understand how participants are reacting to you as a coach. I think that this research, very specifically for the coaches, we're going to actually produce report outs for each individual coach to say, hey, here's what you're doing really well. Here's some areas you could improve. Here's some tips and tricks we noticed from other coaches who maybe successfully did this. And so it'll be a great opportunity to share out kind of best coaching practices very specifically, but more broadly in terms of research in design thinking and research that supports GDTA, this work will actually help us to understand how we can more effectively facilitate design thinking, how we can get people on board to design thinking methods quicker, and really build some buy-in into the process more broadly. So to help us kind of scale, which is really exciting. So I think that's all of my slides.
Yeah, that's your slides.
Yeah.
So if I were you, I might be a little bit anxious about this. I get a little bit nervous when I feel like people are evaluating me, right? But this is not that.
No, this is not an evaluation. This is, I think most of the coaches that are coming to this, right, are kind of best in class coaches. And so I think what we really want to do is establish an understanding of what makes design thinking coaches so amazing. And what are these like underlying behavioral and verbal cues that we're using to really facilitate more effectively? Because I think it takes a lot of time to become a good coach. It takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of effort. And so if we can start to kind of unpack that and understand what makes design thinking coaches so good at what they do, we can kind of start really getting ready to scale, right? And so the point of this whole conference is scalability. So if we think about how do we make everybody an amazing design thinking coach? Well, first we need to understand what makes us amazing at this, right? So that's really the goal. It's not to say you're bad at this, you're good at this, right? It's to say, okay, this went really, really well. The participants reacted well to X, Y, and Z, and we want to be able to replicate that with other folks.
Thank you. What questions do you guys have around this? People are just like, yes.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty clear. So
great. Yeah, this is Jess is providing this service. In fact, this entire conference is free. So if I go back to share my screen, here's my last slide. So come see us in October, and whether it's online or in person, we'd love it if you could register for us. There are no registration or conference fees, not for the conference itself, not for the food, and not for the workshop that Jess is graciously agreed to run that is normally tens of thousands of dollars. So this is we've been able to identify sponsors for everything, and so we're hoping that, recognizing that you guys have to pay to travel, we're hoping that we can make it just a little bit easier. Anyway, we've started to issue invitation letters, recognizing that many of you need those. If you have specific dates that would help on your letters, please let us know in the registration notes, and we can make sure to cover that. But that's what we have planned, and we're excited to have you out here. Oh, and we're gonna have really good barbecue. That's one thing that we can offer here is really good barbecue. So we're gonna have some great barbecue and some other food, but we'd love to have you with us. What additional questions do you have?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Matt, and also Jessica, for your presentation here and the overview about what you're doing there and you're planning to do. And if there is no question right now, I have a question actually. You were talking about the possibility to join online. Is
Yes.
that the case for both of the days, or is that just for the first day for the conference?
We can do the GDTA meeting
And how
online. We can do the Saturday session online. We can't do Jess's work online. So that piece has to be in person.
And online on the at the conference day means that you stream the panels and the talks, or is it possible to participate from outside to ask questions or?
Yep. So we'll stream them. We can certainly field questions. We'll have a moderator that can share questions. We'd also we have limited ability to host people during the Flavors of Design lunch that want to engage remotely. So we only have 8 mobile TVs that we can set up for that. So we can't get everybody, but if you'd like to participate in the Flavors of Design and remotely, then we're going to try and facilitate that as well.
Any questions from our auditorium?
On a positive note, I'd like to appreciate Jessica for offering it at free of cost. That's phenomenal. Totally. And we didn't expect that.
Yeah, hopefully folks, if you want to come in person, it'll be a lot of fun. And I think the activity itself will actually be really, really fun and enlightening. And in addition to, providing each coach that participates with a report out, it would be great if we could come back, Uli, to GDTA and kind of provide a larger level report out after a few months of analysis.
Thanks, everybody. We look forward to seeing you in person.
Yeah. So thanks a lot. And I'm happy to see a lot of people over at Penn State at the Learning Factory on October the 21st and the 22nd. I think it will be a wonderful program, and you'll see. Do you have a website which you can share here? I know it's in the making right now, but is it already? Does it make sense to share?
Yep,
the website?
right here. This website's up and ready to go.
Yeah, it is. That it is. Here it is. Okay, great. And
I can share the link in the chat too, I guess.
please register there. I have to do that as well. I'll do that as soon as possible. And if there is no other wish of having an input question, then I would like to say thank you to all of you for joining here today. And feel free to visit the gdta.org website also for the upcoming events after the October session. So the October activity and the 21st and 22nd will be our next getting together with all the GDTA members and the guests and people who are design thinking enthusiasts around the world. The GDTA counts more than 30 member institutions now around the world. We have more than, I think it's about 22 countries in 5 continents represented. And it's really great to see every week we learn about new institutions which are approaching the GDTA to become a member. And it's great to see the design thinking community is growing. It's not shrinking, it's growing. And that is a good sign after 16 years of seeing myself being involved at the D-School in Potsdam and trying to bring design thinking to a lot of arenas. I'm really happy to see the growth of design thinking. Thanks a lot to Vera and Sadia and Natalie in the back. They were setting up the call and preparing also the video. And Vera is our new kid on the block. She's following Steffi and now taking care of the communications at the HPI D-School. And it's great to see you. Thanks a lot to Matt and Jessica for joining in the middle of their strange work now with all the students. We are happy that the semester is not started yet in Potsdam, but it's soon to be started. But I can imagine you have a lot of things to do besides the conference. You know, there's actually a big burden. But thanks for giving us the time and sharing. And I'm looking forward to see you next time. And we can stop the recording now. Thanks a lot and see you soon. Bye-bye. Tschüss.